everybody. Ella J here on behalf of Bell to Bells for PWI's 150 weekend, a celebration of women's wrestling, where today I am joined by an absolute legend, a GOAT in not only women's wrestling, but professional wrestling as a whole, a woman who also ranked number one, not once, but twice on the PWI's women's list. So, Mickie James, how are you doing today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am fantastic to be speaking with you. You have had one heck of a year, a lot of ups and downs, but definitely one of those highs was putting together and delivering this history making all women's pay-per-view Empowerrr. And she's even rocking the shirt. We didn't coordinate this at all.
This or not, but there's a t-shirt still available, but yeah, thank you so much.
But talking about like this history making Empowerrr, that was definitely a huge highlight of your year. What is there anything that you especially hope that people took away from this history making all women's pay-per-view for NWA?
Oh, thank you so much. I think that a lot of people took a lot of different things because you're seeing all this amazing stuff come out of it on the other side of it. And the first one is always the hardest, so I think that it's pretty amazing because I think it showed that not only does women's wrestling make money, but it has star power. I mean, we were trending number 2 worldwide and against the UFC. So that was pretty incredible. And overall, like just the night and the energy of that night, like every woman wanted that show to win. Every woman went out there and delivered, and it was just a really great place for me to be sitting in, I think, because I had put a lot of my eggs in that basket and was told otherwise, and really kind of started that self-doubt, of like, well, maybe that is true. And then it was really a test, I think, and a testament to how much we've evolved, both in the ring and on the other side of it as fans of what we want to see from our ladies in the ring. So it's cool.
Empowerrr was, again, like obviously going into that, like again, yeah, a lot of self-doubt, especially in something that you've never really done before, but I think it was pieced together beautifully. And I mean, I'm biasly speaking, but honestly, it came together so beautifully and everybody delivered and over delivered, as you said, and like it sold out, it trended. And so that itself, I think, is huge, especially if you're trying to push that women's wrestling draws, and it does matter. But I mean, yeah. So what was that for you, like proving that women's wrestling does draw? Because obviously you were the mastermind behind all of that. But
I was the mastermind. Yeah, but I could not have done it alone, and I think what the magic of that show was, and I hope that we can do it again. I hope that I'm able to do it again. But what the real, I think, magical part of that show was, it was embracing women's wrestling on all the scenes, from different companies and from the independent scene, and bringing them all together for this one night of, wrestling as a whole, and to present every company and every, division as amazing as they are, so I hope that I can do that again, and I'm definitely looking forward to trying to do something like that again, so but it was just I was just really grateful, Ella. Like, I was very, very grateful, because I think that there's been lots of times in my life and in my career when you're told one thing, or you're tried to be made to believe a certain narrative, and in your heart that that's not true, or that there's a way to change that perception. It's like it takes a village to get there. And I had an excellent team around me. I had, Gail, I had Medusa, I had Jazz, and even Lufisto kind of behind the scenes, like really helping out. And then you look at like what Maria's done for Ring of Honor, and then Gail's doing, with the knockdown that just happened. And AEW's just announced another women's title. the Queen's Crown tournament is now happening. So there's a lot, everybody's kind of going, take notice. I think that a lot of people took notice and was like, maybe ate their words a little bit, and that's okay, because it's for the betterment of, the business in a sense. And it really does go back, for me, it goes back to that whole thing of like, well, if I couldn't get that curtsy that I wanted out or whatever, like, how could you leave the business better than you found it? And it's like, maybe change that perception of what women are worthy of. And the, even in their legacy of what that means to the fans. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You obviously talk about surrounding yourself with so many women throughout your career and even today, but in honoring women's wrestling, obviously you named some of them, but who are some of the women who have particularly empowered you along your 22-year wrestling journey, whether that's on the screen or behind the scenes, and why?
Oh wow. God, there's been a lot, and for different reasons. I think that coming up in in the time and the place that I came up in wrestling, there weren't a whole lot of women, especially women that I knew that I could trust and I could look up to and ask these questions to. And I think um Lexi Fife was one of those people when I first got started, and a Malaya Husaka who really was very nice to me, and I had heard like different, because I think because she was a wrestler and she had seen so many women who weren't wrestlers getting, and didn't really want to be wrestlers getting into the business at that time. So but she was always cool with me. But the one person at that so it's just kind of been like an evolving thing. I'll always go back to Lita, to Amy. And I think because she was the one person, the one woman that was at that kind of pinnacle, and she had just got signed and at that pinnacle of success, but that kind of came from the same grassroots way that I did on the independent scene. We're very in that same region, that mid-Atlantic kind of area. But that saw enough in me to like pull me aside and take the time to kind of help me and just give me advice or what. And she didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? It really had nothing to gain from that. But, after a while, she pulled for me a couple more times than she needed to or had to. And it really helped me. And it really, she was so bold and so different and daring. And then by the time I debuted on television, I think, Trish, for the most part, and a lot of that story held my hand on a lot of things, and she really taught me the art of the behind the scenes business of how, because it's a lot, there's just as much work, if not more work, that goes on behind the scenes that actually, like the in-ring stuff is the most rewarding stuff, because that's why we do it all. But the behind the scenes stuff is a whole different animal. And you think how to do business, but there's doing business on an indie level, and then there's doing business on a corporate television kind of level. And she really taught me the art of that, and the art of television, for the cameras and all these other things. And she was very, you think back to that storyline, she was the hottest girl on television
No
at
doubt.
that point. And if she had at any point thought or did not want to do that storyline, it would have never happened, so you think back, and then the time that she took with me to work with me in that whole thing, to make it as amazing as it was. That was a group effort, like that wasn't just one person by any means. Like we, and she again didn't have to do that, but she wanted the story to be a success, and in turn she wanted me to be a success because it was a direct reflection of her body of work as well. So that kind of level of professionalism and how you treat people coming in and whatever, that really resonated with me, and it really stuck with me. And because I was one of those girls that was like always on the independent scene, and I would show up and do these tryouts, I always once I got there, like I always tried to do what a Molly Holly would do for me, and would just take the time to have those conversations and work out in the ring with them. And now they don't do that anymore, but which I was shocked when I went back the second time around. I was like, wait, we don't do this anymore. But yeah, it's a little bit of a different animal, but yeah.
Yeah. And
but nowadays I would say, there's several people even now that are I find very inspiring in this new roster and the new generation. And, I think that, that the whole crop of Sasha is a pusher. Like, she's a hustler, and she's willing to fight for what she wants and fight for what's right. Bailey too. Like, I think Bailey, for the longest time, because she was getting pushed and she was getting all this, like, these accolades and stuff, but she was really never, because she was seen as that lovable character, and people are just going to love her no matter what. Like, she didn't get that hard, championship push almost until she became heel. Until she became heel. But she was there at being a, company girl and putting it in and just doing the work. And, and I always say, like, that brilliance kind of always shines through, because the people always still just gravitated to her and loved her. And so, yeah, her energy, her career, like the way it seemed to go, like, it's just very, I respect everyone. I mean, I think you have to respect everyone in the locker room, because everybody has their own battles and their own journeys, and it's not easy for any single one of us at any single point. So I respect every single one of these girls. So.
And you talk about your journey that you have been well immersed with so many major companies throughout your coming up on 22 years. I believe November is your 22-year anniversary, right? Am I right?
Since I first broke into the business. Yeah. Since I first walked into a wrestling school, and wow.
Yeah.
I remember when we were celebrating, and they were like, oh, we should make a big deal out of it where you're celebrating 20 years. And I'm like, oh, I don't kind of want to admit that I've been in the business for 20 years. I mean, I've been on television since, WWE television since 2005. But even before that, I was on
TNA, Ring of Honor.
TNA at the time, at like 2002, 2003, It's a long time. It's a long time to be on television. And it's a long time, especially for a female. And this is one of the things that I heard, like, even in my second run, is like, well, Mickie, you've been on television for mainstream television for 15 years. And I'm like, yeah. And you had to think back and go, like, yeah, not a lot of women do that. There's not a whole lot of women that are on television and stay relevant for 15 years on television throughout different storylines and different things. But then I go, like, yeah, but I feel like if I was and I don't mean this in a slight, but I was like, I feel like as a 15-year-old veteran, as a female, like, that should be, or on television, should be super celebrated, because we do that with the men all the time. We super celebrate, their successes and their journeys and all their accolades and all the things that they've done and the history that they made and the WrestleManias that they headlined and all these moments that they had. Like, I feel like it's kind of the same. Not obviously, I'm not saying I'm freaking Taker or Stone Cold by any means, I wish.
I
wish I had a third of their bank account.
You're a freaking legend, my lady. And I mean, I'm saying that biasly and truthfully as well. Like, just to be like noteworthy, like I said at the beginning, you were number one not once but twice, and I don't know how many people can say that. So
I don't know either. But I haven't been in there in a long time because I don't wrestle as much. But apparently now I know the rules, and so next year's gonna be different.
It is. I mean, you have been slowly making your in-ring return more consistently. So what are some of your hopes going forward for this next year in wrestling? Obviously, besides making the PWI Women's list, which I have no doubt you will next year.
Well, it needs to be number one, obviously, because three times the charm, third time's the charm always. Obviously, I hope to have an incredible Knockouts championship run. I hope to, not only win the title, but like, carry it for a while and have some incredible matches with some of these awesome women out there. You know what I mean? But also just kind of, I don't, my whole shift in my focus, like, is like, as much, I put a lot of that energy into bring forward this women's project and to put Empowerrr together. And then even looking at the optics of what that looks like moving forward. Okay, so what's next? Because I think everybody's asking, like, wants to know, okay, Empowerrr was awesome. And now what, and that is really the big thing that I'm working on, is the now what, like, how can I find a way to continue to do this moving forward, but in a different dynamic way, that's exciting and makes good television and presents these ladies as the star athletes that they truly are, so that, and then obviously a million other things. I cleaned stalls. I told you I have a 7-year-old. He's kind of like a dictator of the house. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I just paid the mortgage. And if you can hear Butch, who's outside right now, who's barking at me to come open the door because he's tired of standing there waiting. It's a lot of demanding men in this house.
Not Pixie, though.
No. Pixie. Oh, gosh. And she might still be in timeout from earlier when she chased down the neighbor.
Stories of Mickie James living on good old Nashville, Tennessee. Some wild things have happened there recently, but that's another discussion for another day. We're talking about you going forward in women's wrestling and obviously continuing your career, but coming out of Empowerrr, one of the biggest goals you had was making a statement and hopefully opening some doors to do more in women's wrestling, which you've certainly done. But like you said, what's next? What do you want to see happen in women's wrestling specifically to elevate it even more?
I think obviously it's up to every company on what they want to do as a corporation moving forward. And I hope that all of them have taken notice and saw not only the love and the passion behind it and how successful and the vibe that it was, but also how well all these girls did. Like, they freaking killed it. You know what I mean? And I do feel there's a real synergy around it. And I feel like these things that are coming out of it, you can kind of see it starting to transpire. But personally, for me, putting on one pay-per-view was not enough. And that I think that kind of was like just putting the stake in the ground. Almost like that's the flag in the ground. And then like where we go from here, like the possibilities are limitless, honestly, because I think that within all these organizations, there's things to do and different projects. But for myself personally, it's like, okay, I proved the point. I proved that point. But okay, so now we can move forward. And I think that there was a lot of different women that we saw that were on that show that weren't signed yet. And there's also a lot of women out there that haven't been signed yet. And, I still have a great relationship with NWA. I still have a great relationship with Impact, and I'm always, I think that the fact that we could all do this together the first time and it was such a success. And if it's going to be something to where no individual company is going to step up and actually put on a weekly episodic program of women's wrestling, then there's no reason why we can't all do it again and again. That's just me. But that's just me. But, no, and that's the tea.
It is the tea, and the people want to know the tea, Mickie James.
Oh, gosh.
Because this was probably the most highly requested question. Do you have any plans or aspirations to actually start your own all women's brand or promotion, not just an annual show?
Oh, wow. Because I'm like, we definitely, I'm talking to Billy or whatever, like the whole idea was obviously based off the success and how well it was, is to do that Empowerrr as an annual event. I say yes, but with the right, yes, it would be cool. It would be really, really cool, because I do think, and I know that there's other women's promotions out there, and maybe it's something along the lines of teaming with them to help take them to another level. I don't really know what that looks like. But I do think that I really love wrestling. And I think that I like to surround myself with good people who love the business as much as I do. You know what I mean? And I do think that when I was trying to explain like this vision or this, how I could see this unfolding, because the whole block was, oh, it just doesn't make money, that idea was never really truly heard. It was never, because that was already cut off before it could be heard. But I think that now off of that it's, these conversations are happening, and then you're getting heard it's a little louder. And I think it proved its success, and there's a way to do it that's different. And that's just kind of it for me. It's like, okay, everybody shoots wrestling one way, like wrestling, which is cool. But I think that especially as we move into 2022 and out of this pandemic and how people are consuming content, there's just something, it could be cool. It could be something really cool.
Mickie's got a vision, I think. But yeah, you talk about like, obviously there are like all these women's promotions out there. Like there's Pro Wrestling Eve, there's WWR Plus, Mission Pro Wrestling, like Femme Fatales, WoW is coming back. And like, those are just the ones off the top of my head. Like there's
a bunch that I haven't even heard of yet.
Yeah, there's Capital Championship Wrestling, Stardom. There's so many that have popped up, even just through this pandemic. But yeah. I mean, going forward, you talk about some of this next generation of women's wrestling. Who are some talents that have kind of been on your radar or you have high hopes for? I would assume one is the lovely Masha Slamovich.
Oh my God, I love Masha.
Just competed in the Pick Your Poison match. So
he did just compete in the Pick Your Poison match. I love Masha. Like, I'm obsessed with her in this weird. And I'll have to say this, Ella, we can say this now. This is you were the one who mentioned the name Masha Slamovich to me. And I remember I was like, I thought you said slam a bitch.
Well, that's the thing.
This is how I remember this conversation. I popped huge. I was like, Masha Slamovich. I hope yes. What, who's this? And you were like, no, Slamovich. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's cool too. And then I went and I checked her out. I'm obsessed with this girl. Like, she's freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. I think she's awesome. And she's got all the tools. She checks all, like, I think the fact that she went to Japan during the pandemic, that was the difference maker for me. And I think for her too, because that is an incredibly brave thing to, in the middle of lockdown, pandemic or whatever, you just go like, okay, well, I'm just going to go live in a dojo and wrestle for a year or however, you know what I mean? And she'd already been training at that point too. Yeah. But I think it just put a different edge on her game and how she wrestles. And she doesn't really, she wrestles so different. And her look is incredible. And I think that I couldn't believe she's only 23 years old.
Yeah. She's my age, which is crazy.
It's insane. And I don't know why I even said to her, I was like, I thought you were like 26, 27. She's 23. She's got the whole world ahead of her. Mm-hmm. She's going to do some big, big things. She keeps her head on straight and, she's going to do some really cool things. And she's got all the talent in the world. Tootie Lynn was another one.
She's been killing it.
So proud of her. So proud of her. And she already had bags of talent and charisma. And I just think that ultimately, I just was like, she's the ultimate like little baby face because she just has that bubbly, charismatic, I just want to love her. Right. She was amazing. I think Bianca Carelli is going to do a lot of things. It's cool to see her. I think the whole, she's second generation. She just moved to Florida. And, and kudos to Santino too. And for like really having her break in the right way and go like, well, if you want to do this is what you want to do, then you need to go to Florida and you need to work the scenes and do the indie scenes and,
She's living
Dude,
with Serena Deeb too. So she's in the household of a legend too.
human on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
That one. Don't
Okay.
at me.
But yeah, no, Serena Deeb is like a legend. And like you said, Masha Slamovich, Bianca Corelli, Tootie Lynn are definitely three like notable names to come out of Empower. I think that going in, people knew of them. And like Masha's been on top of the world, but like Tootie and Bianca, especially Bianca, this was her first time wrestling in a while because Canada was in like a complete shutdown. And Tootie has obviously been featured on NWA television more recently too, as well. So those are definitely three incredible stars.
Yeah. I'll tell you who else came out of it like a real kind of weird was like the Free Babes.
Yeah.
Because I think it was all second generation talented females. And it was such a different dynamic because these were all girls that were like mostly singles competitors that were kind of put together for this very NWA felt, and that was really the point of it, is for like the nostalgic aspect of it. But it was also a way to be like, hey, these three girls could actually go out and do this together and it would be cool. It'd be really, really cool. But yeah. And I'm like, I told you before, like I really have a lot of time for all of them. Like they're really great girls. They work hard. And obviously Jimmy and Jazzy were here at my house, when they were moving from over. Yeah, they stopped by and hung out.
Oh, okay.
We had coffee in the gazebo.
Oh, you didn't have tea?
Not in the morning, darling.
Okay, fair enough.
Tea in the evening, coffee in the morning.
Oh, okay. I'm neither a coffee nor a tea drinker. Don't at me.
Or coffee?
No, Mickey's like, our friendship is over. I live off of cappuccinos.
That's coffee.
No, I can't do straight up coffee. Like I need a caramel frappuccino or like a cappuccino, or I can tolerate iced coffee, but I can't do straight up coffee. It's bleh.
But the cappuccino has espresso in it.
There's a little bit of espresso, but it's very milked and sugared down.
Right. But it's like stronger than the coffee and bitter.
It's sweeter. No, it's sweeter. It's a lot sweeter. I forget, you don't have Tim Hortons near you.
Syrup that's sweeter. It's caramel syrup that makes it sweeter.
Maybe, but oh God, I can't do coffee. Anyways, I digress.
Wow. You're a strange bird, Ella.
Wow. You still choose to be friends with me, to be fair. But anyways, you have also been very vocal to a certain hashtag, and I'm talking about hashtag Women's Wrestling Matters. So, Mickie, in the simplest of ways, why does women's wrestling specifically matter?
Well, it specifically matters to me because if it doesn't matter, then what have I spent the last 20 years of my life doing? What was the point? What was the purpose if it doesn't matter? That's the real. So when someone says, oh, it doesn't make money or it doesn't matter, then it kind of makes me question like my life decisions over the last 20 years when I've given everything to this business that I love to elevate it to get to a place to where now we can have all this awesome stuff for women. So women's wrestling will always matter to me. It always has mattered ever since I first stepped foot in the ring. And I've always wanted to step my game up and never be seen as like just one of the girls, but one of the boys. And it was always a hard thing. But I think that type of mentality has brought us to a place where we are now for women like that, who have like, kicked ass out there and got their knocks and earned the respect the hard way. So now a lot more of these girls can come up and shine and do a lot of freaking awesome things. So women's wrestling is going to continue to matter until it is on an equal platform. And even then, it will still matter.
Duh. Anybody watching this is obviously a women's wrestling fan, or else you wouldn't be here.
I would hope so. And if you aren't, then please don't at me.
She's on this new thing now, guys.
Did it not work there?
No, it did.
Okay.
It did. But lastly, Mickie, to close things out, I mean, we touched on it earlier, but you've had this amazing 22-year journey in wrestling thus far, coming up on 22 years, I should say.
Double
But
deuces is what we're going to call it.
double digits. Okay.
Double deuces.
Double deuces. Okay. Okay. Two,
Double
two.
deuces.
But how would you describe the journey that women's wrestling has undergone from perhaps even when you would watch Sensational Sherry in the 80s and 90s to today in 2021 going into
Oh God, nobody
2022?
could mess with Sherry for one. Nobody could mess with Sherry. Sherry would get in there today and kick everybody's ass quick. They wouldn't even see it coming. No, you can't mess with her. I think that women's wrestling, like obviously we're doing so much more now, but I feel like there's always been ebbs and flows, or there's always been like at least, one woman that's carried the torch for the division or for the companies or for the championships. There's always been the one. It's just usually like what else was happening typically. That was kind of like, well, a lot of those girls didn't know how to wrestle, so I feel in every generation, I feel like I say that because I feel like in every generation, there has been 1, 2, 3, 4 handful of women who have really led that charge, so I never want to discredit or take away from things, that anyone has done to get there, to get us here, because there's been a lot of badass women, from Jacqueline to Trish to Lita to Luna Vachon to Sensational Sherry to Wendy Richter to even like myself to Beth Phoenix and Melina to just it keeps going in, and even to like the Bellas who have taken and put women on the map as in mainstream. Like you may not particularly have cared for all of their matches, but the one thing that they did, and they were hella smart for this, is that they were able, probably the first women to really catapult over into mainstream and be seen as legitimate stars in that A to Z list celebrity kind of warfare over there. So that was monumental. I think that was really monumental for a lot of the women. To then now we have all of these things that are happening out of it, from reality shows and different things that have gone that way. So when you think about that, like really it opens up the doors to like the possibilities are truly endless as far as what you can and do with your career as a lady wrestler, if you will. So and I'm sure that there's going to be women who keep going. I mean, I think at 10 20 years from now, maybe 10, we're going to be talking about the monumental stuff that Charlotte and Sasha and Bailey and Becky have been doing, and all the glass ceilings that they've broken down, because it's going to be a whole new crop of women by then who are doing all new kinds of things, hopefully, because it's just going to keep growing, except for hardcore stuff and like glass light tubes and stuff like that. Hopefully they're not doing that.
But I mean, you need
but
to
if they are,
literally break that
right.
glass ceiling though, Mickie. Literally break that glass ceiling sometimes.
Yeah, well, I just don't think that glass ceilings have fluorescent light bulbs in them. That's all I'm saying. I don't know, but they could.
They could.
I don't think they do.
But no, it makes sense. Like women's wrestling, this whole new generation, even 10, 20 years from now, I think it's just going to keep evolving. And me even talking to some other people, like the work that you guys are putting in now, and even back then, the next generation gets to reap the benefits of that, which it's just an ever evolving cycle that I think is making good progress, hopefully, in this male dominated sport.
Yeah. And it's always been a male dominated sport. And I think that we all knew that when we got in. We knew that. Was very aware of, and there was a lot. I love this business and I loved my journey, and I knew it was not easy and it wasn't for everybody, but there was so many memories and awesome things that happened. And like, I never get on this thing where like, I'm like, oh, male bashing, because some of my best friends in this business are the guys. They're my brothers. They're my friends, they've been through it too. We've all been through it, you know? So, I never wanted to come off in that space, you know, and I always think that it's really cool when you see, because now at this point in my career, like I've been in and out different locker rooms or whatever. So I've gotten to like cross paths with some of these same faces that even when we were green as grass, you know, like now look at us like how far our careers have just catapulted and done different things. And it's cool, man. It's really cool. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I've been able to have the career I've had. And I'm just grateful that people believe in me enough and believe in women's wrestling enough, you know, to have gotten behind Empowerrr and everything moving forward. And I'm grateful that I can still put on a pair of boots and go out there and kick ass, you know. So next year, PWI. I know I did not have enough matches this year. But next year, there's 150 spots in this moving forward, right?
Possibly more. Who knows?
Possibly more. Well, I'm not worried about it because I only am worried about the top 5.
Okay.
Really just the top 1. So whoever is my competition, I just kind of need you to let me know now. So I can go ahead and have about a year to fix that. And it's going to be awesome.
It is.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Everything you do is awesome.
Yeah. Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Mickie, before I let you go, can you please tell the listeners where they can find you and all your projects on social media and everything?
I'm really easy to find. There's a website and it's called mickiejames.com. My name is literally, it's spelled just how it is.
It's IE, not EY, just
in real life.
Notice.
It's really hard for some people. They don't understand the last 2 letters and they mix that up a lot. But if you go there, you can find all my social media handles from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm on all of them. They all have the check. So yeah, you can find that. You can also go to gawtv.com because every Wednesday we have a really awesome show with my 2 friends and we talk all kinds of things, wrestling, women's wrestling, sometimes not wrestling. We talk other stuff, lots of food talk, and wine talk.
I was about to say, and alcohol.
I don't want to whine about it, you know?
Oh, no.
But yeah, so you can go to gawtv.com and come join us over there. And yeah, I could be on your television at any point, coming in, taking a championship.
Legacy subs.
Huh?
Legacy subs.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Did my husband talk to you?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
He said yes. Dude, you know what? The legacy subs is the dark horse of this whole pandemic for us. Like he started that at the beginning of this year, 2021, and it has grown already so much. And this wasn't something that we went on and gone like, hey, look at our company we started, look at all the stuff we're doing. Like we kind of just pushed it out by itself. It was like we were kind of on the fence whether we should talk about it or do whatever. And so we've been more vocal about it, but it's not like we've not made ourselves the faces of it. We kind of let the products speak for themselves. Now we've obviously after I got let go from WWE, we launched the women's line, the Her Legacy, but then we just launched the CBD line too. So it's just growing and growing, and we got some really cool, like just hopefully some really cool stuff coming out with that. But unbelievable. You know, and you think because the amount of money that I've spent in fitness products over the years, from fat burners to proteins to pre-workouts to post-workouts to sleep aids to wake up aids to God knows, you know, multivitamins. Like we literally have everything, and everything is kind of like I helped design and put together the female line. Nick obviously kind of spearheaded the men's line, and then we got a lot of good stuff. Collagen now, a total mind one for your mental focus, and yeah. So Yeah. So legacysubs.com, you can go follow them. Um, subscribe today. If you're first time buyer, you get 20% off your order, or you could just use code Aldis. That's my last name. And you can get a discount there. Yeah, I think that's it. And my music, I could show up in your town at any point. So you got to follow my socials, because once this pandemic kind of lets back up and live music starts to happen more. So you know what I want to do? I need to call Seneca, Niagara Falls. I need to go back. Do you think they've missed me? It's been a while now, because we've been in pandemic. It's been a long time.
I've missed you. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's really been tough, the music I think that's been the biggest struggle is for me, because but to get out and to play and to go do all these things, because nobody was hosting any events, so, but, I love you so much. You don't know what it means to me, actually. I will say, and I'm just going to say this, because I can do an appearance, like an autograph appearance, and I'll have lines and people will show up. But when I do a music performance and people come to my concert, you have no idea. It's like, it means so much to me. It means more to me for them to come to that. And it's probably cheaper, actually, for them to come to that than to some autograph signing and stand in line to get my autograph. Because I will probably, at my concert, if I can, I'm sure I'll probably do a meet and greet, and I will sign your thing and do all the things, but it just is a different level, because I think it's a different passion of mine. And there's already been like trying to cross over and do all the things. And I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling now at this point. You're like, get her off.
You're good.
But because, it's so different, and it's not in line with Mickie James, the wrestler that most people have fallen in love with, or that thing. And they accept this other thing about me that I genuinely love equally, but it's a therapeutic for me. It's an outlet for me to get my thoughts and my feelings and my anger and my happiness and all of these things out in song form. And then when you see that song connect with somebody, it's the same way as if when you see a match connects, when you're out there and you're wrestling and that match connects with the people, like it's like that same gratification, but on a deeper level, because these are words or experiences that you went through that are moving someone else,
But Mickie, thank you so much for joining me today in honor of celebrating women's wrestling and PWI's top 150 women's list that is expanding. That itself is history making too. Back in the day it was 50, then it was 100, now it's 150. So that itself is another great milestone.
That is huge. That is absolutely huge. So very exciting. I'm honored to be here. I love you so much. Anytime.
I love you. Thank you so much for being here, and fingers crossed you got some stuff to do to make next year's list.
I got lots of stuff to do. But yeah, a solid 6 butts to kick.
True. Very true. I'm sure technically, well, at the time of recording this, your match would have been yesterday with Deanna, so then you already have one. So
I'll be one deep.
Yeah, you'll be one deep. So there we go. Thank you so much.
More to go.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Mickie. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's such an honor to talk with you, especially somebody who is such a huge women's wrestling advocate and voice.
I love you.